Hey folks, welcome to the farm here, Central Kentucky. We've got kind of a break between some client trips and the first time out here on the farm after the season, or right at the end of the season here. Out here on the farm today, guys, what I wanted to bring you along and show you, I guess I should say, is out here looking at doe bedding today, guys. I have a piece of the property that was cut relatively harder than the rest of the property because it was a spot that had never been touched before, and it had, so the rest of the farm was walnut and oak, and this spot was a lot of maple, and it looked like a maple desert or savanna underneath it right when I owned it, or when I first got it. And it is now doe bedding. So what I'm going to show you is this time of the year, getting out and really being able to survey and how much stuff like this really pops out and what we can do or what we can add to it. Food plot right here where the ranger's sitting. It's a smaller, real long linear plot. One of the best plots as far as growth on the property. And then this is actually an old rock wall right here that runs all the way down to the end of the plot there. Openings on a couple or both ends of it, and it's been really, really good. I can see, I haven't been in here since the cut, so that was, let's see, January of 2022. I had that, I think it was being done then. And I came in here and added a couple more hinges after he got done, but the logger did a real good job, taking out what I wanted him to take out, and there wasn't a lot for me to do, and I just kind of left it alone, and boy, I'm telling you, it blew up. So I'm going to turn you around here. Sorry for the wind, guys. The wireless mics are our next step here. We've upgraded the camera, so hopefully the footage looks a lot better than it used to. And so we're just going to go for a walk through here, guys. Now keep in mind, I'll try to find some pictures of this before. I know I have them. See if I can find them. You'd be shocked on what this looks like. I get this question all the time: is show us something that what should ours look like, right? What should ours look like? Well, it's a hard answer, right? That is a hard one to answer because everybody's property is different. The species are different, and that rootstock that you got in the ground is different. That's something we're going to touch on right here. But for the most part, the goal is to release big canopy, go in and after that's done, find out what you've got for invasives. I didn't have any invasives in here. And then you go in and do some finesse work, right? Some finesse work if you need some of that hinging done. And that's what I had to do here. So I did a little bit of hinging after. But for the most part, guys, this was all, I bet I only did, this is probably an acre, and there's probably only 10 hinges in the whole thing. Just because I added enough structure from the tops, and I knew I had plenty enough daylight, and I didn't need it. There was plenty going on, and I didn't need extra hinges because I knew it would blow up, and I knew I'd have extra food. Now, if I would have got to do that spot where I knew the food was way light, then obviously I would have added more hinges without, messing it up or getting it too dirty, or that tornado effect that you hear me speak of, right? So I'm going to turn you around here, guys. We're going to take a walk, and I'm going to show you a couple things. So keep in mind, guys, that this was, you can see over there, big canopy, right? On the far side over there, that's the property line, so that's bigger canopy. Less canopy in here, so we're hunting into this from that end down there, and then right behind us, 2 fence gaps, stands on each one of them. There's a water hole on that one, about 60 yards off the end of the plot down there. But right here, boy, I'm telling you what this has turned into. So you can see this goldenrod, guys, is all growing. You can see all the native grasses that have came now after rains and ice storms and stuff that we've had. We've had actually a very mild winter, but you can still see, I mean, this piece right here, I've actually went down through here and cleaned this out a little bit with the mini to make sure all the debris was out of it, because this is all getting mulched in this year. So perfect example, right? A food plot transition runs past the doe bedding for that reason, so he can cruise this while you know, we're here able to hunt him, and he doesn't have to, you know, expose himself out into that food plot. So real soft edge, using his eyes out in the food plot. He's going down through here, headed that way or at us, and that wind's all at the side of his head. So perfect spot, perfect regeneration, to be honest with you. What's going on in here is it's actually performing very well. Blackberries, greenbrier. I've got a lot of popple regeneration. It's coming in. A lot of maple regeneration. And it's not so crazy tornado effect, right? 2 or 3 beds right there. 1 bed right here more in the open, right out here next to where it's going to be mulched. 2 beds right here underneath us. Just keep going in here. Look at all this. Look at all of this blackberry, multiflora rose, greenbrier. A couple of the hinges that I've done right here, guys. You can see how it's open in the center, so it's not. I'm gonna show you one here that I need to come in and fix. So it's not too congested, right? It's clean. I'm gonna come in here with a chainsaw. I'm gonna take some of these tops here that are, you know, 2 or 3 tops together, and I'm gonna perforate them, make sure, you know, if something bent on the backside, they can get gone. But this whole thing is just littered, just covered, completely covered in doe bedding. Turned out really well. And this is its only, actually first full season of growth. Broom's hedge, and I haven't planted anything in here, so that's one of the topics we're going to talk about at the end here, guys. But let's look at this right here. This is a piece that is a good learning curve, and like I said, I do this for a living, and this needs to be fixed. So even someone that does it all the time, I mean, there's always things that you can do better, right? And sometimes when you're out here working, there's a lot of things that just maybe in the canopy was on when I was doing this, so maybe it's, you know, just got covered up on you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beds in there. Got that one tree that's arched. Don't hinge that one. That's a good way to get barber chaired in the head. But what you've seen here, guys, what you're looking at here is this right here. See how these two, the stump and the top, come together and then they V apart? And see exactly what's happening right here is the beds are in that V, right? It's open to the bottom, and the way that the deer are built, right, all of this can be jumped right over. But if predation come in the end of that and got them cornered right here, they could, and now that hinge is up high enough that they could go out the bottom of it. But with a buck, you know, with the rack on, if he was in here bedded, that could be a problem. So make sure, and it's really the only one that I see in here, make sure that you really survey these things after the fact. Take a minute to just walk around and take the what if factors out of there, right? Probably never would happen. It's crazy, as anal as I am about this stuff. That to me right there, that hinge, it's actually an old poplar that I just hinged just to give it some structure anyway. And now that it's dead, I'm just gonna cut the hole right out of the end of it, and then this V goes away. So V meaning hinge with open, or the most common one I see is a hinge here going that way and a hinge here going this way, and the two tops making a V. And what that V creates is when predation comes in or to bounce something, they run into there. And sadly, it only takes, when the coyotes and stuff are on them, sometimes it only takes them just a fraction of a second to be, you know, checked up for them to be on them, especially if there's 2 or 3 of them. And we would not on our does and our doe fawns that are in here that this is built for. Sure what, don't want to make it easy for the old coyotes. So this right here, this top, there's 2 or 3 tops together right here. I'm probably just going to run the saw through about every 20 foot, just make a trail through it, and it'll clean it up really good. So what I like to do, guys, is this. I'd like to come off the food plot, and about every 20 to to 30 yards, the buggy's right there in the corner, so every 20 to 30 yards, I will bring a corridor in. There's that being a rock wall is tough, but what you would do is here you'd make a corridor, and there you'd make a corridor. So every 20 to 30 yards, it makes a cubicle, right? And then all them deer got to do is take 2 or 3 jumps out of this 20 by 20 or 30 by 30 pocket that you're building here, jump one way or the other, or go out in the food plot or out the back door, and they're gone. So because of this one is not the one, or didn't get any mulching done to it, I've got mulcher coming in here real shortly here, and we're gonna put that mulch, that transition pass right here, and then all these corridors are gonna get cut up into here about every 20 to 30 yards, making these cubicles within your bedding. So yeah, that's one thing I want to show you right here. Got 2 or 3 tops from the logger that could be perforated a little bit, just to give somebody a little out root right in the V right there. Perfect example, right in the V right there. There's a bed. So I want to make a escape door out the back door for them. But all in all, man, this really regenerated really well, and it's holding. It looks like it's at capacity. It's definitely holding a bunch of deer. So as we slide down out of here, guys, I'm gonna touch on something, and I'm asked this a lot going into this time of the year, is should I plant anything in these doe bedding areas, or is it going to regenerate enough? And that's a hard question, or another one to answer with one answer, to answer with one specific answer. One hat covers all, right? Because it doesn't. If you are in an area where you're reclaiming and you're dealing with a bunch more like CRP and grass stock anyway, it's probably a good idea to go in and do some planting. You can put some red osier or some dogwood in general, or silky willows and stuff like that. I mean, there's a bunch of that stuff. The more timber areas that you're doing in like this, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 that was real dominated in poplar, and the soil was horrible and it didn't regenerate well at all. Then we went in and we did some replanting or additional planting in them bedding areas. But anything usually with any tree species really regenerates really good if you can get that sunlight to it. Not only the regeneration you're going to get off your stumpage, right, like right here, but also the regeneration just from that floor. And look at the regeneration off that hinge right there. Just 1 year's worth of growth, 1 full year's worth of growing season, right? So our channel is brought to you in part by these great partners: Painted Arrow Outdoors, Race Proven Performance, and C6 Land Clearing, Harrodsburg, Kentucky, Drone Deer Recovery, Cuddyback, Bass Pro and Cabela's, Ace Hardware, Harrodsburg, Kentucky, Northwoods Whitetails, your food plot headquarters, Plot Doctor and Harper Growing Solutions, Real Wood Productions, the log trough feeder, Scent Thief, Hunt Stand, and First Form Outdoors. So the answer to that is usually no, but what I do focus on planning wise in here from where I'm at in central Kentucky south, it's not such as big a deal. I've got a little bit of cedars coming in here. Them cedars would probably they're very slow growing. It'd be great thermal cover, but it's going to be a while before they get to maturity to act as good thermal break. More so than the cedar is the spruce with me. I like to go in here and I like to plant them spruce in these bedding areas and or habitat pockets to create that thermal protection. Now maybe that's a northern guy speaking, right? But I see that's more of an overlooked thing sometimes than what most folks think. But here's the tip: where most folks fail with that is this: we're just going to go in here and we're going to plant a spruce here and there and out here in the open, so when they bed, because you can see wherever it's a little more open and they've got some protection or side cover, 10 feet from them, there is a lot of beds other than buried right down into the thick. Most folks want to take them spruce and put them right out here in the open, and sadly they usually don't live. The old rule of thumb is, right, if you want 2 spruce to live, plant 3, because they're going to get destroyed. And it's not so much that they eat them, but it's the bucks come in and they just rub the pieces out of them, right? So what I would do, guys, is I go in these tops, right? I go right in like that top right there, and I carve out a 3-4 foot circle. I'll get a little closer here so I can explain it a little better. So I go right in there, right? And I would just carve out with a chainsaw a 3-4 foot circle, and then I'd put one in there, and then maybe go 10-15 feet from it, put another one in a top, and it's actually a seclusion cage, right? Is what you're doing. You're using that natural seclusion cage around them, and you're letting them mature and grow without getting picked on. One really good thing to do, and sometimes I do this if it's the right property, I recommend is that in these cubicles is to look at doing these like a diamond or a dice. I'm sorry, not a diamond, a dice pattern with the with your spruce. 2 or 4 to the outsides, 1 in each corner, and 1 in the center. And that seems to work really, really, really well. And then, like I said, I would probably throw a couple extra in there just to, you can always cut them out later if it gets too thick, but if they die and they're not in there, sometimes it takes years to get them to start growing, right? What size do you buy? That's another question. The size that I buy is as much as your wallet will let you, that you can afford, right? The bigger the better, because they'll be in production quicker. That kind of goes with conifer, that kind of goes with for fruit trees and everything, right? But whatever that your pocket will allow you to get the biggest and baddest and go into it. You'll be there a lot quicker. The old racing term, right? Speed costs money. How fast you want to go, and that's couldn't be more true when we're talking about trees. So now that we're up here, guys, you can see what that looks like now. I'll show you some pictures of what it looked like before, just by taking that canopy out first. I didn't have any invasives. That was my second thing I would have done. Then I went in there and I hinged about 10 trees in an acre. Now you might have 20 trees in 3/4 of an acre, right? But I had plenty enough daylight. Some of that smaller stuff in there, no need, because I had plenty of structure. I didn't need to just do solid hinging. So if you've got an area that's no big timber and you don't have anything except for smaller trees to work with, then maybe what you do is you take 30% of those smaller ones out, and then you kill cut them, pile them up in rabbit habitat piles or whatever, and then you hinge cut another 20-30%. Biggest thing is, guys, I'd rather see you go err on the side of caution than go too far, because if you go too far, it can, you can fix it with a saw, right? But it's harder to wade through that stuff. But if you err on the side of caution and you come back and add a little more to it here, and you add a little bit more, add a little there, add a little here, a little there, over time, you can really be strategic on where you're planting that or placing that stuff. And we're just going to polish it off this year with a little mulching into the transition in the corridors, not mulching the whole thing, just mulching the trails, and she'll be good to go. Thanks, guys.